Hi and welcome, I'm Mrs. Cutefelds and today we are felting these beautiful carrots. I have decided to put mine in a beautiful shadow box, but you can use yours as Easter decoration or any other way you like. Here is all you need. For the root, I would suggest you use carded wool, 2 different oranges and some browns and whites for the detail, but when it comes to the stems and leaves, I would suggest you go with the tops. Here are some different shades of greens. We will also need wire, florist's tape and chopsticks. Carrot root is basically a cone, and for me the easiest way to create cone shape is using the skewers. Here I am taking one and marking the initial length of my carrots. It will be 11 centimeters approximately. This is completely optional, but I like to start with wrapping the end of the skewer with some really light yellow or white. And then I'm taking a piece of the orange wool and wrapping it as tightly as I can around the skewer, creating the cone shape. I'm starting at the tip of the cone and moving upwards to the more bulkier side, and just take it slow, move bit by bit, and don't be afraid to add more later. The tighter you wrap, the easier it will be to felt it all down later, because there will be less hair in between the fiber. Another important reason to work slowly at this stage is to keep the surface smooth. It will make the felting process way faster and way easier. So I keep adding the same orange until I reach the desired thickness of my carrot. And now it's time to secure the fiber in desired shape. You will see the type, size and brand of the needles I'm using throughout this video on the upper right corner of the screen. Be careful not to hit the skewer and go all around the carrot shape. When you feel like the fibers are holding together themselves, it's time to remove the skewer. At this stage, I also like to add some brighter colors of orange to the carrot shape to make it more lively. Now I'm taking finer needles and felting it all together as smooth as I can. Be careful not to stab your fingers and work all around the shape. This will take some time, but the more you poke, the less felt marks you will have on the surface and your carrot will have longer life. Here you can see how I'm working on the top of the carrot. Please note the direction of my needles, and I'm really careful not to stab my fingers here. I have been felting for some time, but if you're new to this craft, please work slowly and be really careful. Now I'm not using the mat anymore because it was too bouncy for me, but I'm keeping my needles really shallow. I'm not felting too deep, so I don't hit the surface. It's important for me to have really defined tip of the carrot. So I would suggest you use a mat here, because the needles will go through. I'm spending some time on this part and then dry felting the tip of the carrot in between my fingers. It creates this tiny little root tip you can see on the real carrots, and sometimes these lighter fibers will come through. Now it's important that your carrot is felted really well, because we are giving it a twist, just to make it more realistic, because carrots aren't this straight cone. When you're happy with the shape, it's time to take a single needle and work on some wrinkles. You can follow the wrinkles you have created by twisting or create new ones. Even though my carrots are going in the shadow box and only one side will be seen most of the time, I'm working all around my carrots just to make sure I can use them in the future however I like. And of course there's always time for a kitty break here. But our carrots still need some detailing, so now I'm mixing some browns and oranges to create shading in the wrinkles we just created. As always, I like to work in tiny bits. It gives me a lot more control. Here you can see how I'm adding the brown in the wrinkle and just cutting off the excess and using it in the other place. I like to add brown in almost every wrinkle just to create more realistic look. In real carrots, these are the places where lateral roots are coming, so now we have to add them. I'm taking white carded wool, rubbing it in between my fingers to create some tiny white pieces and adding them onto the brown. Be careful not to cover all the brown. You can again follow the line of the wrinkle or create just the tiny white spots. And again, I'm repeating this process all around my carrot in all the wrinkles. When I'm done with the detailing, I like to secure it all using finer needles, just in case in the future I decide to use my carrots in any other way or display. Okay, I'm using this angle only to show you how I'm applying the brown on the top of the carrot. Please do not repeat the air felting you just saw. Do it like this, laying flat on your surface, and watch your fingers. And here is our carrot root all done. I'm just reinforcing the shape, giving it another twist, and repeating the process with 3 more carrots. Now it's time to move on to the stems and leaves. I'm using 3 different shades of green from World of Wool, pulling off some tiny pieces like this from different colors and laying them together like one big strand. For better results, I try not to mess the fibers up and keep them as flat as possible. I don't remember where I learned this technique exactly from, but basically we are trying to create some locks. So if you have some green locks lying around somewhere, you can use those. If you don't, just keep watching how I'm creating locks myself. Now I'm taking the chopstick, securing the wool at one end, and then holding the wool in one hand and twisting the chopstick with the other hand until all my fiber is wrapped around it. Now I have just popped them in a hot water and then placed them in microwave. You can also use your oven and cook them until they're dry. I overdone mine a little bit, so you can see that the chopsticks are burned a bit, but the wool is completely fine, and you can see we have created really beautiful locks here. Of course, you can use them as they are for the green parts of the carrot, but I would like to add some support for them. So I'm cutting my 22 gauge wire in approximately 5 centimeters long pieces. I will use 3 for each carrot. Now I'm taking florist's tape and cutting it up, because I don't need such wide strips. If you have never worked with florist's tape before, the trick is to pull it from both ends before you start wrapping, and it becomes all sticky and wonderful. I'm wrapping my tiny wires, leaving one end bare just a tiny bit so I can stick it in the carrot easily. When that's done, it's time to chop up our beautiful locks. I decided I will use the multicolored ones, and I'm cutting them in approximately 4 cm long pieces. Then I'm taking one of the wires by the bare end and attaching one end of the lock just above it. The florist's tape is still sticky, so I'm wrapping the end really tightly to really make it stick, but the rest of the lock is attached quite loosely. You can see how I'm correcting its shape with my fingers. You can always bend the wire, and that will give the support you need. To attach the leaves to the carrot root, I'm taking really coarse needle and creating 3 holes on the top of the carrot. Then I'm sticking the bare wire end into the hole. You can always use some glue for extra security, as well as bend the green parts to create the look you're going for. I have decided to attach 3 stems to each carrot, but you can do whatever your heart desires. Now just repeat the process with all the other carrot roots you have created. I think they are lovely already and can be used for your Easter or spring decorations, but my cat Blueberry disagrees, so I will have to put them in a shadow box. The shadow box I'm using is from IKEA. I showed it to you in my last felt chat. We are creating cross-section of a carrot patch, so here I have just a white paper background in the size of the shadow box, and I'm covering around 2/3 of it with craft glue, and I'm taking wool batting. This color just reminds me of soil and garden, and I'm just putting it on there. I'm making sure the piece is thick enough so there is no white spots, and paying extra attention to the sides. And yes, there is no felting involved in this stage. I had to ask for some help from Mr. Cute Felts, so he helped me to take off this piece. Won't be needing it, so I'm covering up our crime. And then he added these nails. They're really helpful, so the gravity won't pull my carrots down. So first I'm carefully sticking the background on the backing of the frame. I'm not using any glue because it's really lightweight. Then I'm choosing the best side for each of the carrots and placing it carefully so the top of it is out of the soil and all the leaves are posed nicely. Sometimes the carrot root itself need another twist, so feel free to work with it if you see like that's needed. I also decided to add some more brown wool, or I should say soil, in between the carrots just to make it more realistic, like real cross section of carrot patch. Now it's time to assemble the shadow box and we are done. Please let me know in the comments how you feel about this tutorial. Are you going to make some carrots for this spring? Feel free to ask me any questions. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos, and see you in the next one. Bye!